This video is on 5 levels of excellence that you need to consider as an embodiment facilitator. They're not all equally weighted. Let me start sort of kind of in the middle. So people tend to overemphasize technique when they start learning embodiment facilitation. They'll learn the centering, or the 4 elements, and they get very focused on that, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. As a beginner, you do need to learn some techniques. What I would say though is the people who are really the best in this field, they only have a few simple techniques. They might not have loads, some have lots, some just have a few. And I don't know anyone that's mostly focused on that area. So we could ask, like, well, what's deeper than the techniques, or what makes the technique work? So if you think the technique itself is built on these what we call micro skills. So these are the aspects of embodied intelligence. So yeah, I can be teaching a centering skill, but how acute is my social awareness? How acute is my own body awareness? How acute are those sort of fundamental mindfulness skills that underpin any embodied technique we're working with a client, so we can observe them or feel response in our own body. So this is with a mindfulness base under the technique, and this is why I've seen people that haven't got those mindfulness skills who learn technique, because techniques can be learned quickly, but they lacked that they lack those basic skills that make them work. We could also say that the principles-based approach really brings out why a technique works, how a technique works, how to adapt it, how to be creative, how to change it. Hence the whole principles-based thing here being way more important. Like, what's the principle underneath that? Is it centering principle, the algorithm for that? Is it awareness and choice? Is it contrast? Is it blah, blah, blah? Okay, so the principles thing, really, really important. And I think a much deeper level of understanding when people are just sort of going through rote through the technique. And sometimes understanding the principle, you can make shortcuts or changes or adaptations or take a left turn, whatever. So really, really important. Okay, another thing that's important is you're not just doing the technique on someone, there's a relationship. So any technique is always done in relationship. So you'll see this when I'm teaching centering. It's not just like blah, 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 there's the instructions, very logical and dry. I'm in connection with the person, and that might involve empathy, warmth, joking. There's always a relationship to consider, and if the relationship's right, you can almost get away with any technique. It's not quite that much, but I'd certainly rather have the right relationship and the wrong technique than the other way around. There was one study of therapy, actually. They tried to determine which was the best kind of therapy. And what they found was actually it almost didn't matter what kind of therapy the therapist was doing. The success of the therapy was based on the quality of the therapeutic relationship. And that's quite astounding, because you think, well, surely CBT is better than this, or Gestalt's better than Jungian or whatever. Not relevant. It was just the relationship. So I can't emphasize that enough. Last one, maybe the most important one, being. So the being of a trainer, the long-term embodiments, not just the skill they're applying at that moment or the technique they're teaching through, but the being of a person, that is what really makes a technique work. That is what makes a great facilitator of embodiment. So again, this is why on EFC we're really emphasizing your practice, your long-term development, being a lifelong embodiment learner, having a practice that you do ongoing. We're really stressing that as a key part of what makes a facilitator great. There's a sort of mysterious quality for that, or you can think of it as a full circle going back to just those micro skills again. So they're the key things. Yes, learn your techniques, but understand the principles that make them work. Understand they're always done in relationship. And it's those fundamental skills and your being as an embodiment trainer that really matters.